Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Fratello Talks, the weekly short-form podcast where we skip the intro and jump right into it. This week, I'm joined by my colleagues
Lex
and
RJ.
and we're going to be discussing current state of the watch market. It's getting a little soft.
Yes, really getting a little
bit
soft. Yeah.
Did you squeeze it?
Oh, I do have to feel it. It's yeah. There's a whole
true.
process. We'll get into it. We'll get into it in tedious detail. But before we do that, what is on your wrist?
On my wrist is the Breguet Tradition 7027 BA. And BA is for yellow
It looks
gold.
recently serviced.
It is recently serviced. It got back from service the other week, and they serviced the movement. Was running the amplitude of the balance was 200 degrees or something, and now it's above 300 again, and it's more accurate. And they also gave the case a slight polish, and it has a new crystal.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely watch.
Yeah, I like it. So I'm wearing it a lot again since I got it back, actually.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, beautiful thing. And Lex, what is on your wrist?
My Speedmaster replica, the broad arrow one from 2001.
Not the AliExpress one.
No, that's in the
We
safe.
don't do those
No,
replicas.
that's in the safe. I don't dare wear that. That's
Oh, of course. Piece
Yeah.
unique.
and it's on a Joseph Bonny strap.
Perfect. Very nice. What color is that strap?
I have no clue. No, you tell me. I
It's-
mean, this is one of the
What's the material?
it's pig. This is pigskin. Yeah, this is hog.
Delicious.
This is maybe it's hog brown.
Hog brown. Let's call it hog brown. Perfect. Fantastic. I'm wearing a Rolex Explorer 1.
Oh,
I don't know the reference. I think it's
a recent one or
double.
older
No,
one?
it's a slightly older one. It's a double 11470.
11470.
That's the one. Yeah. I borrowed it off of Dan because I didn't want to be wearing the same watch 3 podcasts in a row. So
Yeah, that's the right serial.
I like it.
reference number.
It's
how does it? Yeah, how does it make you feel?
I put it on the wrist and I feel like
nothing.
it's I feel empty inside. No, I think it works well. It's a classic and you know it's just not way up near the top of the list for me. You know,
No.
So it's
Doesn't-
not
Is
it
anywhere
on
close to the Explorer 2.
my jimmies are fully unrustled by this watch. Let's just leave it at that. Perfect. But let's talk about. So this is one of our features as well when it comes to the current state of the watch market. But what has been with some of the latest trends that we've been noticing and some of the latest.
Shall I give some
indication,
numbers?
Yeah,
please
let's
give us the
numbers.
numbers.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
dying for the
I
numbers.
looked up some
Give us
numbers
the
before
numbers.
this podcast.
Perfect.
And these numbers
quite
come
interesting.
from Chrono24. They have this tool called Chronopulse, where they measure the market, so to speak, based on transactions. Well, compared to 3 years ago, it's still okay-ish. We do plus 16.43%. So prices are up. But compared to 1 year ago, prices are down with 8.51%. And compared to last month, it's down 2.28%. And this is measured over 14 brands that they track. And 140 models. So it's still limited, but these are the 14 best known brands or most traded brands like AP, Patek, Rolex, Omega, Breitling, and so on.
Timor.
That I don't know.
No, probably not.
But I think it does give some. It's difficult to express it, I think, in percentages or numbers. But aside from these numbers, where you see there's definitely a minus, it's also what we hear from the market, from retailers and from brands, that it is not easy at the moment to sell watches.
Yeah.
And I think there are some exceptions. I think if you go really, really high end, that there's still strong demand. The numbers are also lower in terms of production. But if you look at the mainstream brands, I think only a few of them probably have a really good year or good results in this last quarter.
Yeah.
I think Rolex might be the exception. And that's also another point of measurement, I would say, is that Rolex watches are getting more and more available. Perhaps not so much to the end client, but wait lists are way down. So not years anymore, but weeks or months.
Okay.
And gray market dealers, as far as I have been informed by them, are getting the pieces very quickly. The
Interesting.
exception is the Daytona and the GMT Pepsi, but for the rest, they get everything in a very reasonable time frame.
I read about this rumor that the Pepsi is going to be discontinued and it's going to be replaced by a version with a gray and black.
Yes, and it also had a nickname already
bezel.
for it.
Oh, really?
Gray and
Yeah,
black.
but I forgot it. I forgot it, but so that's not really relevant.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a rumor.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Why would you discontinue something that's so highly in demand?
But they did it before. It was gone for a little while. There was no Pepsi in the catalog for a little while.
Yeah, the problem is with the ceramic Pepsi. You mean? Yeah, the problem is the bezel.
Yeah.
They have an issue with the colors of the Pepsi bezel.
Yeah, the red is different.
Yeah, so you see a lot of different variations
Yeah.
from the start, 2014 or something, till now.
Yeah.
See a lot of different variations.
Yeah. So,
Fun thing is, I saw Blake Butner from Worn and Wound.
Yeah, Blake Benner.
days.
Yeah.
He was wearing the Pepsi on an oyster bracelet. So then I immediately wondered, is that the white gold one or is that the steel one? And with the Jubilee version, you don't have that issue.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny. But anyway, Rolex is also a good measurement of
For sure.
of how things are going in the market. And if these watches are becoming more and more available, it might also mean that the speculators are out.
Oh, yeah. That too.
And the brands that got traction through the unavailability of Rolex, they also might be in trouble because now these people who went to other brands can now buy Rolex again. And those who bought Rolex as an investment might be out because the investment is less interesting.
Right.
It's a double-edged sword.
Has there been a sort of also a noticeable dump of Rolexes into the market? Is that also something that we've
Good
noticed?
question. I didn't see the absolute numbers of watches being offered, but I do see that it has gone soft not only on Rolex watches, but also on other like trophy watches. If you look at the AP Royal Oak.
Oh yeah,
I
true.
think prices went down.
Yeah.
Nautilus.
The Royal Oak went down.
Yeah, you
quite
gave an
a
example
bit.
last week. I think there was one going for. I think you mentioned it was something in the 30s, high 30s, was it? Something like that, or 40 something.
Yeah, so you
And then
see
you
a
said-
number of references that are going down rapidly, still above retail. That's very clear.
Yeah,
So I think the demand is still there and the supply is low on these watches.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it does show that the market is going soft. That's also the feedback we get from brands directly, actually, that it's tough to sell right now.
Okay.
So that makes me wonder, what should brands do for next year, 2024?
Open more watch boutiques.
Well,
Brand only.
we get invitations
It's incredible,
like
huh?
a few times a week
Yeah.
to attend the opening of or soft opening of a new watch boutique or pop-up. But I also think that these plans were in the books for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's perhaps difficult to turn the ship around.
yeah, of course. The property is acquired and everything and allocated, and then the design is done, and then they start building, and it takes years to plan, of course. But
I think they need to sell watches, so they need a place to sell these watches. So I don't think in the end that's a bad thing. It just feels it might be empty.
it's just
with customers.
in Amsterdam, for example,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
In the what they've been opening there recently, and what is in the pipeline for the very near future is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's also brands you wouldn't necessarily expect to open a brand only boutique.
True.
I mean, there's going to be a
Timor.
Vacheron. No, not Timor. That's
Sorry.
It's for next year. The Vacheron Constantin,
coming soon.
for instance, which of course is a fabulous brand and everything, but is that a brand that needs its own boutique?
To be honest, I don't think so. But what should brands do? I think, for me, it's very clear that if the speculators are out and perhaps the broader audience that were easier with their money, meaning that they would spend their 5K, 10K, 20K, I don't know, on a watch. I think they are not spending that much anymore on items they don't actually need.
Right.
I think there was also a result of the whole COVID situation, that they had some extra money to spend. And
It was
and
also
spend it on luxury.
revenge shopping.
Revenge shopping, that's a good definition.
You couldn't travel, you couldn't go anywhere, so
Exactly.
it was.
So that might be out, and also with the wars multiple going on, the energy crisis that we had, or perhaps still have. People might be a bit more careful with spending their money. But on the other hand, there's also a group that will buy regardless. And that might be the ultra-rich. But I think it's also the watch enthusiasts, the watch community, the watch collectors that regardless of the economical situation, unless they harm themselves, they will also always keep buying watches because they collect them.
And I also think there will also still be these moments in life that people want to buy a watch,
to
like
celebrate.
the
For sure.
Yes,
There are the standard celebration moments.
Yeah.
And which is how Rolex is, of course, a prime example of a watch you buy or gift when it's an important moment.
Yeah, and the problem was in the past that if you wanted to celebrate, I don't know, graduation or a birthday or whatsoever, and you wanted to buy a Rolex, you were not able to.
No, and then you bought a Timor.
Then you bought a Timor.
Or a Hamilton.
Yeah, or Bell & Ross, but now that might change in the near future, that you are able to buy them. So that might affect some of the other brands that can be seen as direct competitors of Rolex.
Some of them even admit that the availability now of Rolex has an impact or will probably have an impact.
Yeah.
Because you have to. Not a lot of watch brands seem to be very realistic when you talk to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are a little bit more, and it's also quite refreshing then to hear the actual.
But I also believe that brands should do what they did 4 or 5 years ago before it went up in demand to produce watches again for the watch enthusiasts, mainly by doing re-editions or heritage-inspired pieces, because that always works with collectors and enthusiasts.
Yeah,
but they are already doing that. That's
but now I think they did a lot of things to have a broader audience. I see things in 20 different colors and so on. That doesn't work. I think if you slim it down and make it really like properly for the enthusiast, I think because that audience will always be there. There's quite a loyal audience.
Yeah, but having a lot of reference in your catalog, that to me always sounds like a Swatch Group thing.
Yeah, could be.
I have that very strong with Swatch Group brands. That they have so many references.
Yeah, well, I was looking for. We were at this Hamilton event a week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and afterwards I was looking for a Hamilton khaki field watch. Man, I had to browse pages and pages.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But the same goes for all the other. It goes for Omega. Goes for all the
that's
other.
why I said having a lot of reference. It's also a typical Longines thing. I remember an interview way back in time with Walter von Kenel. You know the man.
Yeah, I know. I knew him very well, and he told me that they need to sell quite a few per reference, but that China did.
Okay.
So that was their perhaps still is their biggest market.
This
big binder full of reference
and
numbers.
I said, man, that's too many references. And then he said, you sound like my president. But it was way too much.
Yeah. Who do you think stands to win in this current market situation? Which are not specifically brands, but maybe brands.
I think
it
could be good for the consumer. Actually,
it's a buyer's market right now.
Yeah,
it's a buyer's market, and for the brands, we'll get back to the other thing. But for brands, I think if you're able to be agile and to switch to different kind of collection that is more attractive for watch collectors and enthusiasts, that would be good. I think smaller brands, that would be a little bit easier, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. But the one thing that then perhaps might be an issue is the price increases that they did over the past 2-3 years. Yeah, might now really work against them.
Yeah,
because I think that audience that I'm talking about, those collectors and the enthusiasts, they were appalled by the steep price increases.
But there's also the problem you see with the what is it, from 500 to 2,000. I think it's that price range. Is that that like Swiss luxury watches in that price range are struggling a lot.
Yeah. They're getting a lot of competition.
Yeah. But they also get competition from something that is outside of the watch world then, I suspect. Because are you then also competing, if you're in that price bracket, are you then also competing with, let's say, a holiday or with, I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, people have other hobbies,
a new garden set or what have you, because you can see that.
Yeah, I think people that spend money, and that's perhaps a bit very much generalizing, which I like to do.
This is the place for it.
Yes, I think people who spend money in that price category, I might be a little bit off. they have to save up for it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you spend over 10K for a watch, I think in general, those are people who have the money laying around anyway. You don't buy a 10K watch from your last 10K, I would say. But in that 2K price range, that might be a group that normally also spend it on holidays, on their garden or interior or whatsoever.
Yeah.
But that is also a group that were watch enthusiasts. That are people who love reading about them. It's
an important group also.
So it's
for
a
us.
very important. It's a very important group. But they seem to be also quite. It's also difficult for them to find something that is interesting.
Yeah.
Also because the brands were not catering to their needs.
No.
But how difficult is it for a brand to now go back? In price.
You can't go back with the same watches, so you need to come up with a new product.
And how difficult is that? Because you've seen what happens to new introductions.
Well, you see
since the market is so conservative and everybody is about retro.
Yeah. You saw it with Oris, for example. That in the past you could buy an Oris between 1,500 and 2,000. You perhaps still can. But a lot of these models went up also because the use of their own
Caliber 400 stuff
or outhouse movement.
Propriety move.
Yes. Oh yeah. And but you see that they introduced the new Atelier S. Is it Atelier S? The dress watch.
The green dial and the black dial.
Yeah. And they seem to do quite okay. And that I think also has to do with the price point.
Yeah.
So under 2K. So that might be an interesting feature. So if you do something and you want to lower the price, you need to come up with a new model, a new collection, or you can't lower the price of existing collections.
No. And even new collections that have come out, sort of the new concept of the PPX as well. That then you sort of go, that's that with the caliber 400.
You can't put a Salita in that.
No, exactly. It's too much of a downgrade. It's a downgrade, and anything that's a downgrade is a bit.
No. It is in a way.
Yeah. So I think in terms of brands, I think Tudor is strong because they kept their collection so long between 2 and 4K. I think some of them are now a little bit over 4K, but it's very strong.
But most of it is still there. Most of it's still there.
It's
price point.
a few €100 difference, perhaps, compared to years ago. I think Longines can also make a difference. New Legend Diver, I think, is a very good price range.
How much is that?
Starts at 3.3.
But it was very interesting what you just said. I think if you said that is this price category where people can buy it if they save for it. And I'm quite sure that you can also save for a €9,000 watch. You can do that. But that becomes so outrageous because it's not in the right perspective with the rest of your lifestyle that you probably won't do it.
100%. Yeah.
And maybe a Rolex is the exception because it is a Rolex. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But something else with a different logo on the dial for that amount of money
it's a hard sell.
Is a very hard sell.
Yes, and I think also there comes still, even if you don't want to admit you're buying not buying a watch for its investment reason, if you have 10K, if you save up for 10K and you spend it on, I don't know, Gégé Le Coultre, for example, it's very much the question.
Yeah.
If you need the money back,
definitely.
If you get your money back, and with a Rolex, it's like a given.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier to spend that kind of money on a watch, on a Rolex.
Feels safe.
So
it's reassuring.
So it is. It's a very volatile market. It's a very tricky situation.
And on top, I would say, if Rolex watches will become more available again. You get a lot of watch for the retail price of a Rolex compared to the other brands out there who kept increasing their prices to the same level or above Rolex.
I think one of the biggest assets of Rolex is that it brings you peace of mind. You don't have to worry about it.
No. If you need the money back to pay for your, I don't know what. You sell it the same day.
Kind of okay.
Worst case, you break even. You're probably not going to lose anything.
Exactly.
So it's good. Yeah, especially if you buy it at retail.
Yeah.
I mean,
true. But now it's also a buyer's market because you see prices going down.
On the
also on the pre-owned market.
On the pre-owned market, you see prices go down, but the retail prices only go up.
Yeah.
And by quite a lot, by enormous percentages.
Yeah.
Now what?
I think the pre-owned market will go up, will become not up in price, but up in popularity.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because the new prices are so steep.
Yeah.
And watches are not moving.
Yeah.
Basically. that I think you can get a very nice deal on a pre-owned market.
Right. So
from top 10 brands, but also from brands that fall out, like this Breguet, for example. I think watches from those kind of brands, Jaeger is another brand that's very interesting to buy pre-owned.
Definitely.
It becomes even more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
If somebody bought a couple months ago an IWC Jaeger or a Blancpain, and then they're selling it for like minus 10 to 20 to 30%, that's a pretty interesting offer when all that you're missing there is the experience of getting it brand new, right? I mean, it's
But a lot of stuff is almost unused. There's so much out there
crazy.
That is
You recently looked up the amount of watches from Blancpain, right?
Oh yeah,
and it was overwhelming. It was 1,300 or 13,000.
What do you mean? The number what they made
of these? No, of the watches that were available on Chrono 24.
Oh, that was I looked at just at Villeret or something, and it was an overwhelming. Yeah, it was an overwhelming amount. I can't really remember, but and these prices are ridiculously low, of course, compared to what a gold Villeret used to cost new.
Then it's very difficult. Last week we also had this new IWC in the office, chronograph.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And the price was
12,900.
Yes. And then for me, one of my favorite IWC watches is still the Doppelchrono.
Yeah.
In steel. And you can purchase that for 5.5-6K.
Yeah,
on the pre-owned market. For me, that's a way cooler watch.
Yeah.
The thing is that the brands, I think the upside for the brand is that there are still a lot of people who not dare to buy a pre-owned watch, like first-time buyers. Sure. I think they buy new.
Yeah,
but once you have that watch, you start reading Fratello and other titles, listening to podcasts, videos, and so on.
Having said that, a lot of the leading retailers have their own pre-owned vintage shops now.
Yes.
And so they're doing it more and more often. Schaap Citroen has two, the one in Antwerp in Belgium. There's another one in Amsterdam.
Yeah, but look at the new conglomerate, the 1916 company.
Everybody does it.
Yeah.
So it will get more popular. And I think that's also something that that IWC is a perfect example. Because you can have a pilot's watch in beige ceramic, and it looks pretty cool, but it's also very, very specific for 12.9. Or you can have the original, the OG, for 5.5, and it's arguably a way better watch.
Yeah.
In almost every sense.
But so even to take the Engineer as an example, I mean, the current price for the Engineer is also around the 13-14 mark, and then
it's Engineer money, man.
That's Engineer money. And then when you look at a pre-owned Engineer, you see them all the time for 4, 5, 7 maximum, and you go, that's half of the price of the new one. And you could look at those watches and say, well, the clasp is probably going to be better.
Well, anti-bracelet is better of the previous generation.
I mean, exactly. It's
I think the advantage of the new one is the dial and the case. They look more like the original SL 1832.
Yeah, that's a good looking watch,
but it's expensive for what it is.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And perhaps they will sell, because I don't think they make that many, so that's all fine for IWC. But I think
what is interesting, because I had a look at some IWC stuff, and I couldn't find it. Because it's not in the Engineer family. It doesn't have its own category on the website.
Okay.
Oh, well,
they put it in pilot's watches.
Oh, makes sense.
The Engineer.
Okay.
Oh. Well,
I was looking because I clicked on pilot's watches and then I saw an Engineer. So I thought, I clicked something wrong. Clicked again. God damn it!
I'm not sure if they still have it, but I think it's in the past. Also, normal commercial flights, they always had an onboard engineer.
Oh, really?
Right? 2 pilots.
Oh, you mean the boordwerktuigkundige?
Yes,
sorry,
the onboard engineer. So that's perhaps why it's in the pilot watch category.
They're all phased out. I think they're only in Antonovs. They still have 2 or 3 engineers.
But the Engineer has also been marketed previously as a racing watch, because I remember there was one with a carbon fiber dial, and it was
AMG.
With AMG.
Yeah, the AMG and
poor Engineer.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, they
No, but and I think it's also interesting, just to chime in for the little guys. I think it's interesting potentially also for some micro and independent brands, which offer value at a lower price, and at least for people sort of beginning their journey, if you try to find value or something good at under 2,000 euros, well, you're going to have very few options. There's going to be Seiko, of course. There's going to be Hamilton, but then other than that, I'm sure that there's a few brands that I'm forgetting. But even if you look under 1,000, for the most part, it's going to be the Baltics, the Arkans, and the Montas and Lauriers and Nevadas as well. Yeah, the sort of the rebirthed brands, that kind of thing. But
I think for under 1,000 from the big brands, it's incredibly tough.
I think they're no longer.
Longines used to be there, Oris used to be there, Sin used to be there.
You can get a PRX for under 1,000.
That's
still
one of the
fantastic
few
option.
That's a great watch now. That could be even bigger than it already is.
For sure. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. It's slim,
definitely.
it's got a good movement, it's a good bracelet for the price point, and
it's also Swiss, and it has a name people recognize. I think that's also incredibly important to have a name that actually does ring a bell.
That's the problem
with Timor. Or with the
Laurier or Arkin,
exactly.
You have to explain.
Yeah, you really have to explain.
Yeah, for sure.
We were visiting Seiko a few weeks ago, and I asked Seiko how they're doing, and they said, "Well, in that price category, like under 1,000 or 1,500, they're doing very well, so they don't feel the pain." Yeah. And I think so. That's a very strong price bracket to be in, but so many brands left that price bracket.
Yeah. And they're now, exactly.
Definitely. But we can see that still Seiko releases stuff that sort of is very interesting. I mean, they this week, when people are listening, they've just released this Field GMT watch that is pretty fantastic, and I believe off the top of my head, having from when we visited them a couple of weeks ago, the price was around 400, 500 euros, and it gives you a good field watch, well made, good movement,
good
GMT
name.
feature, collar GMT, not a flyer, but it's still for that price point, I think it's still perfectly
solid.
So I think the market
really
has gone
amazing.
soft for watches at least over 1,500, I would say.
Yeah.
That's a tough market.
For sure. And then with those, you wonder how many people are reselling those. I mean, I think that those sales really you see much more on the forums and that kind of thing.
But even there, it doesn't move that quickly anymore.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
What's our expectations for 2024?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It's.
I predict tough times for the brands who are operating in what we call the traditional mid range, the mids. And you probably remember what Maurice Lacroix did once when the market went up. They also went up and up and up and up.
Yeah, the square wheel watch at that time, right?
With the masterpieces and everything, and then it went a little bit bad, and then it nearly killed the company. Yeah. And they went back to basics, and now again, they are they're going up and up and up and up. So they also can't resist.
Of course.
Trying to sell stuff at a price that
you have to sell less, I guess.
Yeah, but
for more money.
I mean, I think the Icon is apart from the horrible name, as a watch itself, it's not that bad. They have some very nice execution, but it's also becoming really expensive for what it is. It's expensive for Maurice Lacroix, and it's in a price bracket that has to compete with the garden set and the holiday. It's just as simple as that, or a new bike, stuff like that. And so they either take a step back, and then I'm quite sure they can hire the proper storytellers to explain to you why they're going back to basics and stuff. And otherwise, it's going to be very tough when you don't have like Longines has that name, but also like Baume & Mercier. I mean, my God, it's going to be very, very challenging. Also, when you see middle class disappearing from society, so that's also something you have to take into account.
Yeah, it's reflecting this, and then you have to wait and see what will happen. Also, in the like you hinted at before, in the sort of geopolitical climate of the world. I mean, it's everything sort of seems to be hanging on a knife's edge, right? It's tricky times, and
I think Oris is a brand that relies heavily on people who have a fan base.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But does Baume & Mercier, Maurice Lacroix have a fan base.
I don't know about those.
No, and it's also for a brand like maybe also for Bell and Ross, although they have this very clear image. But still, you're
yeah. I think if you are a brand that has a clear fan base or community, and I think there are Oris collectors out there.
Yeah,
I think there are Tudor collectors, there are Omega collectors, Rolex, but there are also brands that do not have clients that buy another watch from their brand, and I think Montblanc is an example.
Oh yeah.
Mercier is an example.
Yeah.
They'll definitely feel it,
and I think they will feel it.
Yeah. And then
one of the nicest watches of last year, I thought, was the Baume Mercier Riviera Perpetual Calendar.
Yeah, that was a good one. Really good.
I always like the Riviera.
Yeah, it's so
for
good.
Sure. Yeah, but I think then on the other side of the coin, let's say, there will be this trend that you hinted at towards brands maybe playing the tune of the enthusiast a little bit more. They'll sort of perhaps release some things.
But then they also probably need to restructure.
Yeah,
because
it might take a while. Right?
You have to size down. Also, I think as a company, if you want to, because there's way less enthusiasts than like a mass audience that buy stuff.
For sure. Yeah, well, only time will tell. We'll have to see it, and people will be able to.
It's challenging
to follow along
also,
with us.
Let's see at Watches and Wonders. We're gonna.
That'll be interesting.
That will be very interesting. Also to talk to retailers,
especially to see if they put in the orders.
Yeah, and how much the brands will push retailers to
make the order. Yeah, that will be.
That's also something that happens, of course.
But if a retailer really can't do it, then I think.
Yeah,
it's tough. I do believe that platforms for the pre-owned market or secondary market will gain from this as well.
Yeah.
Chrono24, of course, but also platforms like eBay. I think they will also see perhaps some more interest in pre-owned.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, well, we'll see. We'll also leave the question over to our listeners and to our readers. Let us know what you think, and if you've noticed this, perhaps you're tracking your collection on the Chrono24 app. I know that some of us do, and it's always interesting to see how prices develop.
I don't dare do
that. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Especially not now. If it starts going back up.
Then,
but of course, as always, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow along for more. And as always, join us next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.